Hi there, this is Jennifer, and folks that know me better call me Jen, in New Zealand for part 3, just talking about what it's been like to believe that Kimberly and Goguen narratives have merit and are accurate, fall for that such that I volunteered thousands of hours, literally, over years, and then was treated like less than dust. So, and came to the clear discernment that not just because I was treated less than dust, but because there was a lot of inconsistencies with Kimberly Ann Goguen and the dynamics of leadership on the higher level inner workings of what had become her organization that is very inconsistent with how source of all that is would ever treat or condone, people being treated. So what I wanted to cover in this part 3 of what I'm sharing is leaving the idea that Kimberly Ann Goguen is legitimate. Over the years that I was involved in my New Zealand National Assembly and on a global level with all kinds of wonderful people, I built a tribe that was such a medicine for my heart and my spirit, especially when COVID came along. I also call it COVID. I think rightly so. There was so many belongings, senses of belonging that also just got completely destroyed with that whole narrative. Another fraudulent narrative, there we go. So out of that shock and out of that, where do I belong, with whom do I belong, with whom do I relate, I found this wonderful group of people and this place where it was a field of agreement in common that COVID was a con, amongst many, many other things. So as I built connections with many hours of collaboration and endeavors to create what was being told to us that was required for assemblies to be funded. It was meeting every single week, multiple times a week, especially if you were an officer. And at that time, I was the treasurer of the New Zealand National Assembly. A lot of administrative work to create bylaws and to create and go through them with a fine-tooth comb. Begin to write orders and discern, well, what needs to be written. One of the other officers in that group wrote a phenomenal order to have the COVID jabs, some people call them vaccines, but they're not, so injection formulas, that would probably be a good way to say that, eradicated from New Zealand. And that was actually done, if I'm from memory, just before or just as they hit our shores. So there was lots of data that was cited in that order that we were told, if you write it properly and you get it to Kim, then she can give it to the GIA and it can get enforced. Okay, so that order was sent in to where it was directed to be sent in. There was crickets. There was no acknowledgement that the order was received. There was no actioning the order. So still we kept believing. Everybody that I knew of, including me, still persevering. And then I went into all that time in the National Assemblies very soon after, just poof, dissolved with really not a word other than they're not a thing now. I went into applying all of that time and care internationally because I still wanted to make that difference to help this world be a better place, to lay foundations and nets to catch what would fall over when Kim finally, funded projects and toppled governments and, did all the things that she was promising she was going to do. So we worked side by side in all these different ways. And when I realized without question that Kim was a sham, instead of, like most people I had seen that exited her initiatives and organization, they just would leave rack and ruin and leave people reeling. I actually replaced myself with some beautiful people who kept on doing gorgeous work with Care Food Security and with the Water Restoration Initiative. And now that's 2024, January 2024. Now that's all, getting restructured because, once again, Kim's got somebody in her team who wised up, and now she's got problems again with restructuring. There's definitely a pattern here of cleaning and clearing house every 2 to 3 years. So I now was left with no tribe, not really, and it was like being ostracized from a religion in some ways. Fortunately, I was very grateful that I had a few dear friends who, even though they still believed that Kim was legitimate, they would hear me. And I had another friend who, very fortunately, introduced me to Team Bubba, YouTube, and, all the different channels that Team Bubba has, to help me sort of be compassionate with myself for falling for this, to help me see just the things that I had seen weren't isolated in terms of evidence that Kim's rhetoric and her narratives are fully false, and her claims about who she is and what kind of reach and power she has are fully false. So little by little, I went to apologize to my family for all the time that I didn't give them, and to put back together more time into my business so that we could build up the earnings to support my family and I. So I had to make amends there, and I had to be with the sadness and the grief of losing beautiful relationships and connections with so many people all over the world. Not that they all rejected me per se, but I had the thing that was most in common with all of us that we bonded together over was now disintegrated for me. If this is you, please know that this can be such a gentle process for you if you self-forgive. Just forgive yourself for being an honest person who assumed that somebody else who delivered her rhetoric with conviction and assertiveness was honest too, and they weren't. It's normal and natural to come from our own background of relatedness and extend and assume that is so with other people too. Then, I really recommend listening to Team Bubba's videos, lots and lots of them. It will help. It'll help you understand and know that there's so much more evidence than just the few things that you suspect. And reach out and talk to people. There are Telegram groups and there are chat groups connected to Team Bubba, and it will help normalize, oh, yes, I fell for it too. I'm not alone, and it's okay, and you can pick up your life and make amends or restoration where you need to, and also do good work in your community that's real. That's got true results, not just hanging around waiting for funding that really won't ever come through Kim. Okay, much love. That's probably about what I have to contribute. Thanks.